Hi, my name is Elizabeth Castillo, and this is my free verse poetry project. Free verse is poetry that is free from limitations of regular meter or rhythm and does not rhyme with fixed forms. Free verse is based on natural pauses and rhythmic phrases. The poet's goal is to refrain from normal rule and focus on a single thought, incident, perspective, or voice. Allen Ginsberg was an influential poet and writer of the 20th century. His personal expression became gateway for an interesting and open society. His free verse work was heavily influenced by his poetic hero, Walt Whitman. Allen Ginsberg uses the modern period to express a style that reveals the inner workings of a character's mind, disjointed but authentic. He critiques capitalism, discusses homosexuality and individuality, and aims to disconnect from mainstream American culture, all while wandering a supermarket. What thoughts I have of you tonight, Walt Whitman, for I look down the side streets under the trees with a headache self-conscious looking at the full moon. In my hungry fatigue and shopping for images, I went into the neon fruit supermarket, dreaming of your enumerations. So what's ironic about this line in the first stanza is that he falls into a literary hunger and turns to America for direction, but he simply cannot get it from them. During this period, America focused on liberty, freedom, and promise. So additionally, it focuses on his own feelings of weariness because why exactly are you shopping for images in a supermarket? Talking about America, since it's not mentioned in the stanza or for the next one either, we know that the supermarket serves as a symbol because Allen Ginsberg and Walt Whitman, his poetic hero, are strolling through the corridors among the entirety of this poem, the corridors of the supermarket, of course, and they describe America, the citizens, and the lack of individuality within it. We strode down the open corridors together in our solitary fancy tasting artichokes, possessing every frozen delicacy and never passing the cashier. We strode is a reference to the author and his colleague, Walt Whitman, but they're not actually together because this is all a figment of his imagination. And so this oxymoron also goes to highlight a theme of loneliness while he walks the streets of America. They are not really together, they are separated, but they still did it in union as they strode. Where are we going, Walt Whitman? The doors close in an hour. Which way does your beard point tonight? The doors close in an hour demonstrates how little time the men in America have to both leave but change societal norms and make progression in society and consumerism and how he critiques it until it's too late. Will we walk all night through solitary streets? The rhetorical questioning emphasizes his point of being alone in a world that has stripped him of individuality. And we see that in the previous stanzas of him asking rhetorical questions, not to question his colleague, but to make a point of what it's like living in modern America or modern America at that point in time. Will we stroll, dreaming of the lost America of love, past blue automobiles and driveways, home to our silent cottage? This is actually an interesting ending to the poem because this is actually the first time that the author refers to America directly. At first, it was indirectly referred to through the supermarket, and that's the central point of the poem is its symbolism. So here, to actually address it and actually get straight to the point is hard-hitting for Allen Ginsberg because what America did you have? My purpose was to understand the analytical voice, and so here I just reiterated the irony, symbolism, and rhetorical questioning as posed in the three stanzas. The said quotes evoke a feeling of being mentally exhausted, drained, careful, concerned, and apprehensive to reality in the world around you, strolling through a corridor of a quote-unquote supermarket. The author highlights the symbolism of the supermarket to convey the dark truths of industrialist America. Ginsberg's question to Whitman that they will walk night through solitary streets emphasizes the rising issues in dark and empty American culture masked by consumerism. So, as a whole, the free verse poem really did serve to critique America, but it gave the author a greater freedom to address this question and how he chose to approach it. So we can see in the next poem that I'm going to present on this slide that neither authors really do care about having a set structure or a set stanza pattern or meter or anything like that. Oread by Hilda Doolittle tells the tale of a bossy nymph who yells at the ocean. The author takes an ambiguous approach, and it is up to the reader to interpret the free verse poem. Hilda Doolittle is credited with the beginning of Imagism movement, an influential movement in poetry which sought clarity through highly visual poems. So, imagery as a movement, the only thing I can say is just expect to feel what this nymph, or just feel the setting and what's going on as this nymph and sea interact with each other. And an Oread is a mountain nymph, so. Whirl up, sea, whirl your pointed pines, splash your great pines on our rocks, hurl your green over us, cover us with your pools of fur. Here we have personification, metaphor, and hyperbole. Whirl up, sea. The nymph in Oread has a direct and what seems to be a personal relationship with the sea. So this evokes emotions of like being commanding, direct, united. She addresses it with great force and demands that it listens. And so the nymph has built a personal relationship with the sea she has personified. So similar to how we have relationships with other people. Splash your great pine. As said by the nymph, the waves resemble forest pine, and so she speaks to the sea in a metaphorical manner because the nymph finds the sea and land quite similar. Cover us with your pools of fur. The hyperbole serves to emphasize the grand amount of pine fir as held by the ocean. The acknowledgement is as a pool because it's wet like the sea and it's bountiful. The Oread's adamance to unite with the sea is highlighted through their metaphorical acknowledgments. The Oread's behavior startled the great body of water by commanding it to whirl up in hopes of uniting sea, land, and man. Yeah, that's it for free verse poem. The cool thing about free verse is that, and I think it could be possibly the hardest thing about it too, is that there are no rules or reference when identifying these pieces. And so when you have authors like Hilda Doolittle, Allen Ginsberg, Walt Whitman, they choose not to take a set meter or a particular structure. It's them taking a greater freedom approach.